So it's been a week. It's been a week for Canon, from firmware updates to some recalls to a whole bunch of new features, plus some Netflix certification. So first off, for those of you that have the Canon R5, Canon R5C, the Canon EOS 1DX Mark III, and anything else? Yeah, the EOS R3. You guys have all got firmware updates. Yeah, so you got 1.0.3.1 for the R5C, 1.7.1 for the EOS 1DX Mark III. You have 1.4 for the R3. And I think that's it. I think that's it. Um, so go get those, especially if you have the R5. Now the R5 released version 1.8.1, and this now brings 400 megapixel stills. Now this is based around IBIS, as you guys can see here. Canon has released basically it's IBIS, so in-body image stabilization, high-res shooting. So basically what it's doing is it's taking the image sensor, and since it's been able to shift the sensor around based on how it does image stabilization, it's able to take a series of photos, is in regards to how I believe it works, basically stitch them together and then put together a 400 megapixel image. Now this is going to be crazy large in file size, so make sure you have some big cards available, as well as just big storage for once it gets home, right? It says here, IBIS high-res shooting has been added to the menu by utilizing the in-body image stabilization mechanism. It is now possible to record images with higher resolution. It is now possible to crop and resize images during FTP transfer, which is something that showed up on the other updates, firmware updates for like the R6 and the R7, things like that. Image protection, fixed minor bugs. Now, my question now is that will this feature, which I think it should, which we know it's kind of capable of doing, will it come out to any of the other cameras that also have IBIS? So for instance, myself that has a R6 IBIS, R7 IBIS, will those actually be able to get a firmware update that does that? Because I would be down, not that I would use it a lot, but for especially static shots and things like that where you're tripod mounted, I think that would be super awesome. Now, the other thing that came out, and that feature, just so you know, won't come out to like the R5C because the R5C has no IBIS. Another thing, those that have the Canon EOS R10 camera, some of them are being recalled. So you may want to check into that just to verify if yours is okay, or if you need to kind of send it back in. Check it out, right? And another recall, Canon EF 50mm f1.2. And this is kind of cool, actually. This is kind of cool. The Canon EOS R5C, now Netflix approved. So if you're someone that has this camera and has been thinking about, or maybe you're thinking about possibly working on a production for Netflix, et cetera, and you're thinking of what camera you may want to possibly use for it, R5C, now ready to go. Yep. So just make sure you have the newest firmware, and perfect. That's cool. And then it says here, more features coming, and this is rumor, to the EOS R5 in a future firmware update. We've been told that the further firmware updates are coming. It was suggested that there would be 2 more feature updates to the Canon EOS R5 before the end of 2023, with the final version being version 2.0. Now, I know going back some years ago, I used to have, actually I still have, a Canon 7D. And when they did release a firmware 2.0, which was probably the last update that it got, or one of the last updates, it was a big one. It was a big one that really released a whole bunch of new features. It was kind of the end of what the processor, I guess, was capable of doing, and they kind of threw everything in it that they could at that time. So I'm hoping to see the R5, the R6, the R7 get software firmware updates for version 2 by the end of the year. That would be awesome. It says R5, but the R6 came out at the same time, so my hope would be it'll get something like that as well. All right, guys, that's a little bit of an update as to what's going on in Canon rumors and news this week. You can head on over to canonrumors.com if you guys want to read any of that info, and I will see you guys later. Very cool. Later, guys.